The hidden reasons behind the absence of female trees. How the favoring of male trees contradicts Yahweh and Yahusha's design for mankind. A spiritual perspective. The deliberate decision to favor male trees over female trees in urban landscaping practices began in the mid-20th century, particularly around the 1940s to 1950s. This period saw a shift in urban planning where cleanliness and low-maintenance public spaces became a priority. To avoid the mess created by fruit, seeds, and flowers from female trees, city planners and landscape architects increasingly chose to plant male trees. This trend was further solidified in the following decades, leading to the predominance of male trees in many urban areas across the United States. Urban landscaping is a term used to describe the planning, design, and maintenance of green spaces within cities and towns. This includes parks, streetscapes, residential areas, and other public spaces where trees, shrubs, flowers, and other plants are cultivated to enhance the environment. The goal of urban landscaping is not only to beautify cities, but also to improve the quality of life for residents by providing shade, improving air quality, and creating spaces for recreation. However, the choices made in urban landscaping have deeper implications, particularly when it comes to the types of trees that are planted. In many cities across the United States, there has been a deliberate shift towards planting male trees over female trees. While this decision has been justified on the grounds of convenience and cleanliness, the true reasons behind this trend and its consequences are more complex and troubling. The real reasons behind the removal of female trees: convenience and maintenance costs. As cities grew and the need for clean, orderly public spaces became a priority, female trees were often seen as a nuisance. Female trees produce seeds, fruits, and flowers which can create litter on sidewalks, streets, and in parks. To reduce the costs associated with cleaning up this organic material, city planners and landscape architects begin favoring male trees, which do not produce these messy byproducts. Control over public spaces. The removal of female trees can also be seen as a way to exert control over public spaces. By limiting the presence of fruit-bearing trees, cities reduce the potential for these spaces to be used for foraging or food production. This aligns with a broader trend in urban planning, where public spaces are designed more for aesthetic appeal and recreational use rather than practical, community-driven purposes like food production. Economic interests. The shift towards male trees can also be linked to economic interests. In an urban landscape dominated by male trees, the scarcity of fruit-bearing trees means that people are more reliant on grocery stores and food markets for their produce. This can create a form of dependency, where access to food is controlled by market forces rather than being freely available from local, public sources. Hunger and food insecurity. The absence of female trees in urban areas has contributed to food insecurity, particularly in low-income communities. In a world where millions of people face hunger daily, the decision to remove or avoid planting female trees, a natural source of free food, can be seen as a contributing factor to this crisis. By limiting access to fresh, locally grown produce, urban landscaping practices have inadvertently played a role in maintaining hunger and food scarcity. The consequences of botanical sexism, health and hunger. The preference for male trees in urban landscaping has had significant consequences beyond just aesthetic considerations. The dominance of male trees has led to increased pollen levels, which contribute to widespread allergies and respiratory issues. This phenomenon, known as botanical sexism, highlights how decisions made in urban landscaping can have direct impacts on public health. Moreover, the absence of female trees has exacerbated issues of hunger and food insecurity. Female trees, with their capacity to produce fruits and seeds, could provide a valuable source of nourishment, especially in urban areas where access to fresh food is limited. By removing or avoiding the planting of female trees, cities have missed out on an opportunity to create more sustainable, self-sufficient communities. Planting more female trees and rethinking our approach to urban landscaping, we can create cities that not only look good, but also nourish and sustain us. How the favoring of male trees contradicts Yahweh and Yahusha's design for mankind, a spiritual perspective. The decision to prioritize male trees over female trees in urban landscaping may seem like a practical choice, but when examined through a spiritual lens, it becomes clear that this practice is in opposition to Yahweh's original design and the teachings of Yahusha. Scripture and the wisdom found in lost books provide insight into the divine order established by Yahweh and how this order is meant to be reflected in all aspects of creation, including the natural world. The divine design, male and female in creation from the beginning. Yahweh's creation was marked by balance and harmony. In the book of Genesis, we see that Yahweh created everything with intentionality, establishing order and purpose in all things. Genesis 1:27. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them. This verse emphasizes the complementary nature of male and female, not only in mankind but in all of creation. The existence of both male and female is essential for the fullness of life, reproduction, and the perpetuation of species. By favoring male trees and excluding female trees, this balance is disrupted, leading to unintended consequences, both physically and spiritually. The role of trees in Scripture. Trees hold significant symbolic meaning in Scripture. They represent life, wisdom, and the presence of Yahweh. Both male and female trees play a role in the ecosystem, much like how men and women have distinct yet complementary roles in society. Psalm 1-3. He is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever he does prospers. This verse highlights the importance of fruit-bearing trees, which are typically female. The yielding of fruit is a metaphor for spiritual prosperity and abundance. The deliberate removal or exclusion of female trees from urban landscapes can be seen as a suppression of the natural, life-giving abundance that Yahweh intended. The wisdom of lost books. The Book of Enoch and the lost books, such as the Book of Enoch, the interconnectedness of creation is emphasized. Enoch describes the balance and order that Yahweh established, warning against actions that disrupt this divine order. Book of Enoch 2-2. Observe and see how in the winter all the trees seem as though they had withered and shed all their leaves, except 14 trees, which do not lose their foliage but retain the old foliage from 2 to 3 years until the new comes. This passage illustrates the resilience and enduring nature of certain trees, symbolizing the importance of maintaining balance and diversity in nature. The removal of female trees represents an imbalance that goes against the natural order Yahweh set in place. Yahushua's teachings on fruitfulness. Yahusha often use the imagery of trees and fruit to convey spiritual truths. In the Gospels, he emphasized the importance of bearing good fruit, a concept directly tied to the role of female trees in nature. Matthew 7:17-19. Likewise, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Yahushua's teachings underscore the value of fruitfulness and the consequences of failing to produce good fruit. By removing or avoiding the planting of female trees, which are designed by Yahweh to bear fruit, society is rejecting the very principles of fruitfulness and abundance that Yahushua taught. Spiritual implications, control and deprivation. The plan to favor male trees over female trees can be seen as a form of control, not only over nature, but also over the resources that Yahweh provided for mankind's sustenance. The removal of female trees, which could provide food and nourishment, leads to a form of deprivation that goes against Yahweh's intention for humanity to live in abundance. Deuteronomy 8:7-9. For the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, a land with brooks, streams, and deep springs gushing out into the valleys and hills, a land with wheat and barley, vines and fig trees, pomegranates, olive oil and honey, a land where bread will not be scarce and you will lack nothing, a land where the rocks are iron and you can dig copper out of the hills. This passage describes Yahweh's promise of a land of abundance, where his people would lack nothing. The deliberate exclusion of female trees, which are capable of producing food, is in direct opposition to this divine promise. Conclusion: restoring Yahweh's order. The practice of favoring male trees over female trees reflects a deeper spiritual issue, one of disrupting Yahweh's original design and intentions for creation. By restoring the balance between male and female trees, we align ourselves with Yahweh's will and allow the natural world to flourish as he intended. As we move forward, it is crucial to recognize the spiritual significance of these decisions and work towards restoring the harmony and abundance that Yahweh created for all of mankind. By doing so, we honor his creation and the teachings of Yahushua, embracing a life that is fruitful, balanced, and in accordance with divine wisdom.